you ever asked yourself what freedom really means to you? Or if someone asked whether you're a free person, what would you say? Or what would you consider or weigh before giving an answer? Your choices, your thoughts, or your fears? Welcome, everybody, to a new session of the Bhagavad Gita. In this episode, we're going to discuss. This episode is titled Free Yourself. So that's why I wanted to start with this brief introduction or reflection to what freedom actually means, because in history, freedom has meant many things. For some, it was liberating a nation from foreign rule, for example. For others, it was gaining long denied rights, or even just being released from confinement. But beyond all this politics topic and walls, what does freedom mean from the perspective of the Bhagavad Gita? What or who are we supposed to be free from, and what to do with that freedom? So, to guide us through this topic, I'm delighted to have Haripriya with us.
Hello. Good
Once
morning.
again, here, morning. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I think that without further introductions, we can dive straight into the topic. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. So we actually have quite a few texts today. We're going to jump right in. But yeah, freedom. Freedom. We're free. We're actually free. When we know our true position, when we know who we are within this body, we're consciousness. We're really potent, powerful consciousness. And when we misidentify with the body, that's where all of our miseries come from. And that's also where all of our feeling trapped comes from. So, like, by nature, the soul is free. We actually, that's our nature. And that's why we want freedom, because it's our birthright. It's intrinsic to us. And then when we're in this body, we're hampered. There's so many restrictions. We're limited in what we eat. We're limited. We have to sleep, or we'll go crazy. We have to work, or we can't sustain ourselves. So there's so many restrictions actually in this material realm that we live in. And it can feel frustrating. And the solution that the Bhagavad Gita is going to help us see more elaborately today is not giving up the material situation, but transforming it, transforming our awareness of who we are and what we are, what relationship we have with our work, with our friends, with our family, with our struggles. And when we transform that, then we become really free. Freedom comes from consciousness, really. And I saw that this morning. My son, bless him, he's 7 years old, and his mind was doing a number on him. He was anything but free in that moment. He felt he had to go to school. He didn't want to. He was crying. There was fear. There was so many things. And I really saw, like, wow, I know as a mother that he's only in second grade. He missed 3 days of school because he had a fever. And so in his mind, he's already like, I've missed 3 days. Now I'm behind. And I don't know. I don't want to proceed. And so as a mom, we know, okay, he can make up these 3 days. It's a Montessori style school. Maybe he's missed one relatively short lesson over each day. And he can learn that very quickly. He's very intelligent. But I saw how the mind, the consciousness, where he put his focus on this idea that he's behind, then all this pain came, all this suffering, all the tears. And if he could transform that awareness of, like, I'm powerful, knowing I'm powerful and I have intelligence and I've been gifted by God this intelligence, and I'm going to use it to learn what I missed and be fine, right? Just a shift in perspective. And we can't do that for others. I couldn't do it for my son today. And as adults, we're so lucky, actually, because as adults, we can do it for ourselves. We can practice that now for ourselves, transforming what we think. There's a little self-deception that happens when we think, I have to go to work. Well, no, we don't have to. We could not go to work. We could not pay our rent. And we could be homeless. Like, we could. Really what it is we'd rather go to work than struggle and have no money. We'd rather go to work than be homeless, right? So we're choosing it. So these have to ideas, like, I have to do this, sometimes cause a lot of pain and suffering. And again, the point of relief comes from awareness, comes from raising our awareness and really looking at these have tos. Like, do we have to do anything? And then when we can see them a little bit more precisely, then we can see, oh no, I'm choosing this. I'm actually choosing it because I'm avoiding this or because I want that. So even just that simple concept of looking at wherever we say, oh, I have to go to the gym, I have to chant my rounds, I have to get up early, I have to read this book, I have that consciousness, that awareness is a self-deception. And so I'm saying that today because the topic is freedom. So if we want real freedom, how we speak to ourselves is it's a way to check in. It's a way to check in with how free are we right now? How connected to truth are we? And so the more that we can be honest with ourselves and connect to truth and peel back the layers of what's actually happening and get to, oh yeah, actually I'm choosing to chant Hare Krishna because it eventually makes me feel good. It makes me feel connected or safe or feel love, whatever the effects are, or I feel in integrity with my vows or my commitments or my goals of spiritual awakening, right? So if we can actually kind of peel away the lies, peel away the self-deceptions, then we get more truth. And in that truth, there's power. There's more freedom. We recognize our freedom. We recognize that we have freedom of choice. And so today in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is actually going to talk a lot about the yoga, helping the mind, focusing the mind. And he talks about the difference between the material and the spiritual, matter and spirit. And so we're going to dive right in. And in that, the more that we act in line with who we really are, the spirit, then we taste freedom. We experience freedom. And it doesn't mean we have to change anything externally. We don't need to actually change our activities. Well, I mean, some we might decide to give up, but let's say we go to work and we raise a family and we do certain things. And then we think, I want to become spiritual. Well, actually, we can still go to work and have a family and do certain things. But our consciousness changes. Why we're doing it changes. How come? What's the motivation? And I think that's dependent on our awareness of who we are. If we know that we're a soul and we know that we're connected to a source, and we know that serving that source or thinking about that source gives happiness and pleasure to that source, and that they sustain us, actually, that then it's a cycle. As we serve, we're served, and as we love, we're loved. And I mean, we're loved anyway, but as we love and serve, then we're served because we're filled up. And so when we get in that loop, in that spiritual loop of like, oh, I'm giving to God and I feel nourished, and I'm giving and I feel nourished, then we really start to know who we are. We start to understand, oh, I'm not my senses. I'm not my mind. I'm not my tongue that's like, hey, it's midnight, let me eat some ice cream. Oh, that's not me. And I can listen to my senses and I can do that. And then I can feel some pain afterwards, maybe a stomach ache, or I don't sleep well. Or the same thing if my mind is saying like, oh, I just want to go back to bed. And, we've slept enough, but I just want to go back to bed. I don't want to face the day. Well, so then what are we giving our consciousness to? Why don't we investigate? How come I don't want to get up? And what's lacking here? Inspiration is lacking. So how can I become more inspired? And really look at like what inspires me. And then maybe that becomes the focus in the morning. So there's different ways we can transform our experience of when the senses are pulling us and we know it's not our true self, right? We know we're getting pulled in a direction that is not us. And so then how do we empower ourselves to make choices based on who we are as a spirit? What's going to actually serve the spirit? What's going to serve the spirit soul that I am, instead of what's going to serve this body that's temporary, right? So let's dive right in. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're on chapter 2, text 47. And I think she'll pull it up on the screen soon for all of you who want to join. So we did, thank you. And I said I wanted to check. We're actually on 48. Thank you. So we're on 48. Be steadfast in yoga, O Arjuna. Perform your duty and abandon all attachment to success or failure. Such evenness of mind is called yoga. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, what is this yoga? And he says, yoga means to concentrate the mind on the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. So that he recognizes that yoga is union, to link with our source, to feel that union. And when we do that, the senses might be pulling us in different directions. Oh, I want this, or I need to do that. And we can feel those pulls. But when we know who we are, we're in yoga, we're in that union with our conscious awareness of who we are, connected to the divine as a spirit soul, more potent, more important than the body. When we know that we're in yoga, then we don't have to go in those directions that the senses are pulling us. Because we remember, oh, if I go there, then I'm tending to my body. And if I stay here, I'm tending to my soul. And sometimes we might consciously choose, I'm going to go tend to my body now. And sometimes we'll choose, oh, my body wants something, but I'm going to stay right here and tend to my soul. So that's real freedom, actually, is choice, recognizing our choice and making conscious choices and not becoming a slave to whatever the senses say. So if the senses pull us like, oh, I want to sleep more, well, maybe we're like, well, I'm sick and I need more rest, and that's the wise choice, and it's a choice. But if the mind is always like, oh, I want to sleep in today, oh, I want to sleep in today, and we just keep going on autopilot there, then we can know, oh, we're not at choice. We're kind of being run by a pull of the sense. And then in Srila Prabhupada's clearly stating they're ever disturbing. The ever disturbing senses means they're going to always want something. So it's nice to recognize that now ahead of time. So that way when the pulls come, we can be clear. Am I moving in that direction as a choice, as a conscious choice? Because that's what I want to put my energy in right now. Or am I choosing to tolerate that urge, to tolerate that feeling of being pulled and not listen to it, not act on it? So now we're on verse 49. We're going to go all the way to 51 today. O Dhananjaya, rid yourself of all fruitive activities by devotional service and surrender fully to that consciousness. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Now we're going to dive a little deep into that one today. I want to expand on the word miser. And I remember when I first read this, I thought, what does that mean? Isn't a miser someone who, keeps millions of dollars in the bank and never spends it, never gives a penny? That's a miser. And I understood that that's a miser because that's someone who's not utilizing what they have in a proper way. They're keeping it in their bank account. They're not using it for anything. They're not using it for themselves or for society or for loved ones. They're not using it in service. So that's a miser. They're not properly utilizing what they have. And so I now understand that when in this specific verse, when it says that if we try to enjoy the fruits, because most of us are trying to enjoy the fruits, most of us are trying to make a bunch of money. And then with that money, what are we going to do? We're going to maybe go on a vacation or buy a new house or, right? And so then the question begs, like, so what does that mean? How am I a miser if I'm just trying to enjoy life like everybody else? Well, we're going to go a little deeper, but just before I move to the next verse, I want to share that if I'm using this body that I've been gifted only to enjoy the senses, then I'm not utilizing it properly, just like keeping my money in the bank and never using a penny. So if I'm using this body only for something that's temporary, that disappears when the body disappears, means like if I enjoy, then that enjoyment ends and then it's over. But if I use this body for anything spiritual, and by spiritual, I mean anything that feeds my consciousness, that permanent entity within my body, that same person that was in my body when I was 5, when I was 10, when I was 20, now when I'm in my 40s, There's a constant identity that I call Haripriya, and maybe you call by your name, but we can recognize we have different bodies. And through all these different changing bodies, we've had a constant identity. Now, that's the real us. So a miser is someone who doesn't serve that constant identity. A miser is someone who's only serving the house it's living in. It's only serving its 5-year-old body, its 10-year-old body, its 20-year-old body, its 50-year-old body. So a miser, it means we're not utilizing what we have. So that for me was really, when I understood that, it made a lot more sense. And we might elaborate a little bit more today, but I wanted to at least touch that point of what is a miser. And then here in the beginning, when it says, rid yourself of all fruitive activities by devotional service. Now here, Krishna's not saying give up your activity. He's saying don't do it just for the fruits. Don't even do it for the fruits. Do it as an offering. So we've been talking about karma yoga for quite a few weeks now, and how there's 3 components. And one is, aligning yourself with your dharma, with your nature, with your purpose. And then one is letting go of the fruits, because they're technically not ours, because everything, I'm not going to go too much into it. So first I'll just say letting go of the fruits. And then that frees us. That frees us, because if we're thinking of, do I get this or that, then we're more dependent on the outcome. And then that traps us in fear, because we have some attachment to a result, an attachment to the fruit of the work. Then that allows us to get stuck in maybe calculation mode of like, if I do this, then maybe that'll happen, like Arjuna's did. Or if I do this, will I suffer? Will I enjoy? And so Krishna says, let go of the fruits. Like, just don't even consider the fruits. Do it for the sake of doing it. Do it for being in integrity with yourself and what you want to do right now, regardless of the fruits. Like, what is in integrity for yourself right now, regardless of what's going to come from it. And so letting go of those fruits frees us as well. And then the third, well, here when he says, rid yourself of fruitive activities by devotional service. So by devotional service means transforming our actions. So I might go to work, but I'm meditating on God. I'm meditating on my source. And I'm offering my work. That's the third part of karma yoga, is I'm offering my work to as a service or as an offering to someone I love that's given me everything I have, my source, right? So as we do our work as an offering to our source, to the supreme, to our protector, to our provider, to our father, to our love, the person who really is sustaining us, then that is devotional service. So in this verse actually it talks about 2 of the aspects, which is rid yourself of fruitive activities by devotional service. So letting go of the fruits and act in devotion. And it doesn't mean the externals have to look any different. It's our consciousness that has to shift for that to happen. So 50, we're going to jump right to 50. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, O Arjuna, which is the art of all work. So I'm going to read a tiny bit of this purport that Srila Prabhupada has here. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position, and one's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. So Arjuna therefore is advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. So actually, as we give up the fruits and we act in service and we do anything we do as an offering, and I'm getting goosebumps, then we become purified. Means our past action and reactions that are coming our way, because happiness and distress are coming, both of them, right? Happiness comes actually without us seeking it, and distress comes without us seeking it. Sometimes we are working so hard to create happiness. I'm going to do this and this, and then I'll be happy. And we're seeking it. And then distress comes on its own accord. No one's seeking pain and suffering, and it comes. So if you pause, you can actually understand that actually both are coming, happiness and pain. They both come, and they come based on our past. They come based on what we've engaged in the past. They come based on our consciousness, which is a residue of our past actions. So what's really powerful here is as we simply practice devotional service, even if we feel it or not, right? We might feel like, oh, I love God. I want to give God. I'm going to make a cake and offer it to God in my mind as a gesture of love. Or we might not feel that, but we think, I really want to serve God. I don't feel the love. I'm going to do something anyway. I'm going to act in devotional service anyway. Then there's still a result. It cleans our consciousness. It cleans our misconception that we're the senses, that we're this body, that our happiness lies in external things that we need to attain. And then our real consciousness wakes up, which is I'm already satisfied. I'm self-satisfied by nature. Like that is the most powerful place to be. That's true freedom. Understanding that self-satisfaction actually is already there. It's just been covered. It's been covered by what it could be, say, ignorance. So ignorance, I'm going to expand on that word. Ignorance means something that we're ignoring something. We're ignoring something. There's something that we're not paying attention to. We're not seeing. We're in ignorance about it. We're like, we don't know that. I don't know that. I'm ignoring that thing. So actually we're ignoring our truth. We're ignoring who we really are. We're allowing ourselves to pretend we're in this body and that we are this body. And that's from time immemorial, right? We have been in body after body after body. So we have this dirt on our consciousness, this forgetfulness, this lack of clarity about who we really are. And in that state, in that awareness, then we are operating, trying to seek happiness outside. But actually, it's already in us. All we have to do is clean our hearts. All we have to do is clean the dust on the hearts so that we can see ourselves clearly. And when we see, oh, I am connected to God. I'm always connected to God. Then you know what else disappears other than misery and pain and suffering? Also fear. Fear disappears. Because when we really know our constitutional position as intrinsically connected to our source, to the supreme, when we really know that and we can feel that, and that comes from practicing devotional service. The more devotional service we practice, the more love we offer, the more things we do that are trying to give pleasure to the supreme, trying to give pleasure to God, then that consciousness comes, and our pain goes away, our suffering goes away, our fear goes away, and we become fearless even at the time of death. We know Krishna's got my back. We know Krishna's my friend. I've developed this friendship. I've spent time with Krishna daily, maybe. Even if you decide right now, I'm going to give 10 minutes a day to hear God's names, to hear Shravanam Kirtanam means like hearing and speaking and chanting and remembering. So these are the first 3 processes of devotional service: hearing about God, speaking about God or saying his names, and remembering, thinking about God, meditating on God, thinking about him. So that's how simple it is. It's just shifting our consciousness to focus there. And when we do that, then all of our fear and all of our pain and all of our illusions go away. And challenges still come, difficulties may still come, but how we handle them are different, right? Like this morning was challenging to see my son suffering and to say, oh, wow, there he is. He's in the midst of illusion. He's in the midst of a misconception. And the misconception is what's causing him all this pain. And so what can I do in that moment? It allowed me to pause and be more grateful that as a 44-year-old adult, I have choices and I can choose my consciousness. I can choose where I direct it. Do I direct it here? Do I direct it in reading this deep philosophy, hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna? Or do I direct it in pleasing my senses and like going to get something that's delicious for my tongue, or that's listening to wonderful sounds that sound great, or exercising so that my body feels great. And now I can eat, exercise, and listen to music with a different consciousness of like, I'm exercising as a service so that this temple that I live in, this body, can keep serving. Right now, I'm doing the same activity, but I'm not doing it just for the pleasure of a material result. I'm doing it as a service. And the same thing for eating. Like anything we eat or drink, we can actually offer anything we make to God first. Like, hey, like imagine God's at our home. I made a cup of tea. Would you like some? And that's it. That's all that's needed. That moment of consciousness. Would you like some? And then can I take those remnants? Then when we've offered it, now it's called prashadam. So it's something that's purified and that purifies our consciousness when we ingest it. So now we're drinking something that's delicious or eating something that's delicious. So our tongue is naturally satisfied, but we're not doing it just for the tongue. We're doing it as a loving exchange, something we can offer to God and something we can offer to this body that's our temple right now that we're living in. And naturally, the side effect is the senses enjoy. And the same with music. So I can listen to like spiritualized music that actually wakes me up, cleans my heart and wakes me up. And now there's so many different kinds nowadays. We're so lucky. There's so many amazing kirtan singers and musicians. So everything that we do, we can spiritualize, right? And if we're doing it just to enjoy through the senses, it's going to be limited and it's going to give some temporary happiness, and then it'll be over and we'll have some dissatisfaction. But anything we do that's spiritual, that's for the soul, goes away. That's permanent. That's like an account, like a bank account or an account that we're building on that never goes away. And so with that, I'll read the last verses that we have. So so just to bring us back, I'm going to read text 50 and then I'll go to 51. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, O Arjuna, which is the art of all work. And then our last verse today. The wise, engaged in devotional service, take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. And that's like the climax of real freedom. Freedom in this moment, freedom of choice, and freedom in the next life. Means, and this is something that's beyond my conception, but I believe it, I have faith, but this idea that we can live in such a way in this lifetime that we won't take a material body again, that we can live in a spiritual body. So in the spiritual realm, there's no selfishness. There's no trying to enjoy separately from God. So this material realm was created to fulfill any of those kinds of desires. And as we try to fulfill those kinds of desires of enjoying separately from God, we are in a body to do that. We're in a body on a planet where we don't see God. So here we are doing our best to try to enjoy, and we're frustrated. You know, there's songs written about it. I can't get no satisfaction. I mean, it's endless. It's in movies. It's everywhere around us. If we look, there's so much frustration, aggravation. There's like people who seem to have everything and they take their own life. It's insanity. So what's the insanity about? It's ignoring who we really are. It's living in the ignorance that we're this body. It's ignoring that we are not this body, ignoring that we're actually a soul. We're something that's permanent, that's fixed, that's eternal. And in knowing that, in really knowing that, in living for that, then we have discernment. We get to use our discernment in this moment. I can either act in a material platform way or a spiritual platform way. Which one do I want to choose? And at any moment, we have that choice, that discretion. So, and it's not to say, oh, let's just jump to, something that we can't sustain. So I'm never a proponent of like, I'm just going to give up all material things. I'm a proponent of gradual, sustainable progress, which means commit to something this week and then take it a notch up next week. right? Commit to something small that you can be steady in, and ask yourself, maybe every couple hours you can even say, oh, this week I'm going to just notice, when am I doing something for the body? When am I doing something for the soul? Just noticing, because bringing awareness, then we become more free to have choice, right? So sometimes just becoming aware of what's happening right now without judgment, because as soon as you have judgment, then you have another layer to get through. So I really recommend, as I've said in other classes, that self-acceptance has to be there for our progress, for our spiritual progress. That when we accept where we're at, and then from there we don't have resistance. We're not Well, I will say it this way. When you accept, then you're free. You're not fighting with yourself. So now you have more power. You have more power when you accept where you are, even if you wish you were here. If you accept that you're here, now you can take the step to here, and then here, and then here, and then eventually get where you want to be. But if you're thinking I should be there and you're harassing yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. So see where we are. Like this week, maybe one exercise we can do this week is 3 or 4 times a day. Ask yourself, what am I choosing? Am I choosing something that feeds my body materially, that feeds my senses, which is needed? I'm not telling you to neglect that. And ask the question, am I feeding my soul? Am I hearing? Am I chanting? Am I thinking of, reading, remembering topics of the supreme, of someone who's massively more fabulous than me, actually? Like, there's God. When we think about Krishna, there's so many crazy, amazing stories. There's so much love there. And so in doing that, we get to taste something sweeter than what our mind is concocting. Our mind is like, if I get this, then I'll be happy. If I get that, then I'll be happy. That's not freedom. Following that, whatever that is, that's not freedom. Because I guarantee you, you're not going to feel the way you think you will when you attain that thing. And now I'm not telling you to give up that goal. Go for that goal, but go for that goal not for the fruit. Go for that goal as an offering to God, and go for that goal in consciousness that you don't need that goal to be satisfied, that you can tap into, I am satisfied, and I have everything I need right now. And in that state of like, I have everything I need, I don't need this external thing to be happy. And still I feel this inclination, right? Maybe it's your purpose, it's your dharma, it's your nature to do that work and attain some high goal. Go for that goal with the consciousness that that goal is not the solution to all of your problems. That goal is not going to give you what you think it will. The only thing that gives us true happiness and true freedom is waking up to who we are. So what are we doing each day that feeds the spirit to wake up? And with that, I'll close. But that's what I wanted to offer today. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Haripriya. And I have to say that I with everything you said during the class from the very beginning. When you said that freedom comes from consciousness. So yeah, I think it's like the essence of what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us about freedom, because it's, as you said many times during this session, it's not about an external change, but shifting consciousness. And yeah, like trying to cultivate a different mindset which frees us from our misconceptions that lead us to fear, miseries, attachments, and suffering. So we have to free ourselves from our own misconceptions, isn't it? It's not about external, agents that are trying to keep us from doing things, but it's about freeing ourselves from our own limits, from our own cages. And at the end, you mentioned something that I wanted to ask you, because you said like, okay, it's not like we're gonna be there right away. So sometimes I experience that. Okay, I know it would be better to do this, but still I choose to do the other thing that's gonna give me immediate pleasure. Let's say I watch this soap opera right now, but I know I have time to chant the holy name. But then I know I should chant the holy name, but I still choose the other one. So it's kind of brings up like some feelings that I don't know how to deal with them, because although I know what I have to do, I feel like, okay, I'm not using what I have for the purpose it should be used. So,
Thank you.
I don't know if
I'm
you
gonna
just bring some light to this.
I'm going to reflect. I think is it a question, your point? Like you're saying that sometimes you know you're making material choices. You know you're feeding the senses. You know you're doing something that just feels enjoyable to the body and the mind, and it's not serving the soul to wake up. And so when you do that, you feel guilt. It sounds like you feel like you don't feel good about yourself. You're thinking, why'd I do that? And you're not in an acceptance yet that sometimes you're feeding the soul and sometimes you're feeding your material senses. And so it sounds like you want to get to acceptance. You actually want to get to a place where you're like, okay, this is where I'm at. I still seek enjoyment materially, and I'm also doing what it takes to clean my heart. You know, they say the mirror on the heart. And so you're doing both. And it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like I think compassion is probably the key, like compassion about like where we are. And we need to also have faith that like whatever we are doing is taking effect, right? There was a time in my life that I felt such heavy guilt about things, and I think, to be honest, it wasn't that spiritual consciousness took away my guilt. It was realizing that guilt doesn't serve me, that guilt is not serving me. There's sometimes it's built on our expectations. So like there's a beautiful image actually of like a jar, and at the top of the jar it's the expectations of ourselves. And then in the jar, maybe the jar is only halfway full, and that's the reality of ourselves. So we usually have to fill it with something, and then what we fill it with is that guilt, as opposed to just lowering our expectations to like, this is reality, this is where I'm at. And I guess for me, I started noticing that I have more power to do the things I want, the spiritual things that I want, or anything anything that's challenging but I know is good for me, if I notice what I am doing and I focus, like, like every evening, even thinking like, I'm glad I chanted and I'm glad I listened, and I'm right, like noticing like, what am I doing nice? And then yes, there's things that will fall away, like the higher taste is coming, right? So like the soap operas, they're going to naturally fall away. Like I'll say right now, I don't watch TV. I don't like TV. I have zero desire to watch TV, but that wasn't the case for many, 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 many years, right? So I just feel like, yeah, I feel like meeting ourselves where we're at and seeing what's there, seeing all the good that's there, and being compassionate to ourselves and loving to ourselves, then naturally we're going to be enthused to do more than if we're like feeling bad. I should do that, but I don't really want to. It's like, why don't you just say like, this is where I'm at? And then you watch that soap opera, and then when you're done, you're like, okay, that gave me some pleasure. Like now I want something else. And now I don't feel, and you don't feel like shame and guilt over it. So then you're like, so more free to be like, now I'm going to sing a bhajan, or I'm going to sing, I'm going to sing for Krishna, or chant a little bit. So that's what my input, I guess.
Thanks. Yeah, so accepting where we are at and also being grateful for what we can do. Thanks so much, Haripriya. And well, before we say goodbye, I'd like to show some of our comments today. We have a comment from Colleen: an amazing, insightful class. Indeed, it was. A lot of things to work on for a change of consciousness. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you. And also, Sienna has a comment for us today. Such a great point about continuing to pursue goals as an offering and in the right consciousness. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Sienna.
Well, thanks so much, Haripriya. As always, it's a pleasure to have you with us and hear from not only your knowledge, but from your own experience and realizations. So I'm looking forward to meeting you again on the next episode.
Thank you, Subhadra.
Well, and to all of our listeners, thanks so much for joining once again. As always, I want to invite you to catch up our live sessions on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. EST and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Also, please follow us on Instagram. We're sharing some content by our speakers, answering some questions. For example, we have a nice video of Chandramukhi talking about spiritual practices that you can apply in your daily life. How to use prayer to connect with the soul, how to approach the soul through our different daily practices in our life. So please follow us and drop your questions here in the comments, or just reach out to us on Instagram. We'll be more than happy to address all of your concerns, to answer all of your questions, and to help you in this journey through the soul. So thanks so much for joining us once again, and see you on Monday.